Who are the Golden Bachelor's final two? We are breaking down this week's Golden Bachelor episode, so stay tuned to find out who. The episode recaps the cliffhanger audiences were left at last week. We see a still very distraught and emotional Gerry. We hear lots of bleeps of Gerry cursing and just having a real moment. Jesse Palmer asks Gerry if he knows what he wants to do, and Gerry says he knows. The scene cuts as it is now time for the first ever Golden Bachelor Women Tell All. The Golden Ladies return to relive the laughs, love, and the tears of the season. The women looked beautiful sitting on stage in their luxurious outfits. Jesse asks Sandra for help to get rid of any nerves anyone might have. They take a note from her book by taking in a deep breath, and we hear the famous bleep. They take a look back at some season highlights. During the highlights, a point that got Miss Kathy cringing was when they started playing back the footage of her beef with our girl Theresa. Susan says stepping out of the limo, she was beyond nervous. Her son was upset, and she probably wouldn't have said the 6 inches comment had she known he was watching. Jesse asked April what it was like to kiss Gerry while her grandkids were at home watching. April said she promised to pull it in a little bit. In retrospect, she pulled it in a little too much. She says they all need love, hugs, and kisses. Nancy has always been looked at as a mom, and now her family looks at her as a single woman who is looking for love. She has support all around. Sandra said she is a very competitive person, so she gave it her all during the pickleball day. In response to April's fake ankle injury, she said desperate times call for desperate measures. Some of the ladies believed the injury was real, while others not so much. Now, the drama between Kathy and Theresa. Kathy explains in the moment they were all dating one man. Kathy is a straight shooter, and watching the show back, she thinks she could have been a little bit more delicate, and they both should have zipped it. It was in the moment and it is over. She thinks Theresa knows that too. She wishes Theresa the best. The show is about love and hope and friendship and what life offers all of them. They now take a look back at what the women ate at the mansion. Susan tells the audience about her digestive issues she was having after allegedly eating Edith's guacamole. Kathy actually thought the culprit was Susan's own meatballs. Susan said she eats meatballs and never has had that issue. Edith says she has been making her guacamole for years and no one has had that issue. Susan says she's been eating meatballs for 66 years and it has never caused her a gas-related problem. Jesse says the running trend this season from Bachelor Nation was hope. The women showed that new love, new adventure, and new life can happen for anybody at any age. Natasha says it's because they have lived life, have been through ups and downs, and life be lifing, and you need people to lean on. Marina says as women, we have power within us. Susan got to reach out to people through the show and encouraged them that it is not over. To get back up, if they don't feel good, then change your outfit, take a walk, get up, and live. The ladies get a surprise video from Kris Jenner. She says it's been the most amazing season she has watched in all these years. She thanks them for giving her joy and pleasure. They have been an inspiration to her and her family. She also says Susan is amazing and she loves her style. The hair, she nailed it. Susan wipes away tears and Ellen says she loves Kris. Now comes time for Jesse to chat with the ladies one-on-one. Joan joins Jesse on stage for a sit-down chat. Joan says the replay was hard to watch. Her journey was abrupt and she feels like she has unfinished business. She feels really bad that she did that to him. Her daughter and granddaughter are okay. Everything back home is okay. Her daughter had a bad case of postpartum depression. She heard her daughter's voice on the phone and could not have gone on a plane faster. As she went upstairs to pack up the mansion, the gravity hit her. She says Gerry was exactly how she thought he would be. They have the same moral compass and he would do the same thing for his kids. This made things harder. Joan saw a glimpse of him as a father. She left there feeling like she saw a future with someone. Joan says if she stayed, she thinks she could have had a good chance with Gerry. She says Gerry made her feel visible. He cared about what she said, would listen, and he wanted to get to know her. Joan says society makes women feel like they had their chance. They raised their children and now it's time to take a back seat. Gerry opened her heart and she held out for hope. Jesse says him and everyone at Bachelor Nation admire Joan's strength. Next, Ellen is called down to have a sit-down chat with Jesse. She said the goodbye was one of the most emotional, difficult times in her life. She was face-to-face with true unhappiness and disappointment. She saw an amazing life with Gerry. Gerry was attentive, funny, and caring. He made her feel like a princess. She has gratitude for him. She knows she is worthy. She can enjoy her life and can live it up to the utmost potential. She cannot wait to get started. Her friend Roberta passed before the season premiere. They were friends for over 60 years. She was a sister. Ellen wanted to make sure Roberta got that one wish. She said, please go and apply to the Golden Bachelor show. One thing led to another, and Ellen says Roberta was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer and said she can't wait to watch the first episode with Ellen. When Ellen got back from filming, Roberta was in a semi-coma state and she knew she was suffering. Roberta knew she was staying with Ellen to share that moment of watching the show together. She said she didn't want her to suffer and to go. They're going to watch the show from different places together. It was a remarkable experience. Ellen misses Roberta a lot. Ellen gets surprised by Roberta's daughter Courtney in the audience. Ellen is overcome with happiness and hugs her. Courtney thanks Ellen for showing her what true friendship, love, and loyalty looks like. She is beautiful inside and out. She said Ellen deserves the world and deserves to find love and happiness. The man of the hour finally joins the stage with Jesse. Gerry is sporting a clean-shaven look and waves to the ladies. Gerry says he's doing okay and hasn't had a heart attack just yet. Gerry says he is so overwhelmed and misses all of the women. He said he has flashbacks of moments with each and every one of them. Gerry said he was having the time of his life. He said when the women would lean in for kisses, he was not going to pass that up. Marina jokingly asks Gerry if there are any more men like him in Indiana. Sandra says finding a man in their generation is not just possible, but probable. Gerry was not just a gentleman, but he was a gentle man, which is important to her. Sandra is more motivated now to find love. Joan says the journey ended abruptly, but she sees that he has connected with people and wishes the best for him. Joan is working hard to find love and won't give up. Ellen says she wants to thank Gerry for making her feel like a princess. She also thanks him for the confidence and self-esteem to move on to find love. Gerry says she knows she wears her heart on her sleeve. Through our journey and experience, they have become more hopeful and optimistic. At their age, they are not invisible. They have meaning and things to offer. They made history and should be proud. During the rose ceremony and his breakdown moment, Gerry says when you work so hard to develop a connection with someone and then know that person has to leave, it wasn't just an emotional reaction. He felt like there was an elephant sitting on his chest. Now we resume at the mansion during the rose ceremony where Gerry will hand out the final rose. Gerry returns to the room. He apologizes to the ladies and says this is really tough. Gerry grabs the last rose and selects Theresa. Faith gets sent home. Faith hugs the women goodbye and Gerry walks Faith out. Faith says it is devastating. She saw hope in her son's eyes that they wouldn't worry about her so much. Gerry says it was nice to meet her family, which made that decision much harder. Faith thought it could work out. Gerry says it's been a joy to get to know her. She has a good heart. Gerry kept his emotion together and didn't seem to cry at all. This was pretty surprising to me. Faith had tears as she sat in the car. During her car confessional, she said she is numb. She said it will be a while till she figures it out. Maybe it was all in her head. She felt like they connected on a level where she could marry Gerry. She says maybe it is not in the cards for her. The recap ends and the camera cuts back to Jesse and Faith now on the couch where she is overcome with tears. She says watching it back was hard, gut-wrenching. For the past 20 years, She didn't open up for love, but on The Golden Bachelor, she was all in. It shattered her. Jesse himself was shocked that Faith was sent home. She says in that moment her family's heartbreak was running through her head. The connection they had was gone in an instant. She has not seen or spoken to Gerry since the rose ceremony. Gerry joins Faith and Jesse on stage. Faith hugs him and Gerry is immediately overcome with tears. They have a moment during their hug where they just start crying. Faith says day one there was a connection, but there was a complete disconnect when Gerry walked her out on her last day. Gerry says he thought about that night and those moments. He loved her in all of those moments. He said he had built and created something only to destroy it in a brief moment. Faith says that was the hardest part. Gerry broke down the walls Faith had up for 30 years. Gerry was different because she relaxed in his arms and felt safe. Faith could have been his for the rest of their lives. This was a really heartbreaking moment. She hopes she feels that again and thanks Gerry for making her feel all of those emotions. In her mind, she didn't care what aligned. She just felt safe and wanted to be there. Gerry says his love for her is genuine in those moments. He had to pick the right one. Faith says her heart hurts and it is a loss. Gerry's heart went out to her that night. That was the saddest part. He didn't get to express his feelings to her. Gerry says he promised her family something and he broke that promise and feels awful. Gerry got very emotional at this moment. He promised her family that he would protect her heart and he didn't. Faith doesn't feel deceived. Faith says he is a beautiful soul and feels blessed to have known him. Now, their interview concludes, and to lighten up the mood and to switch it up, the audience got to see the blooper reel of the season. We see people mistakenly calling Gerry Gerry. The women's feet were hurting during a rose ceremony and they all sat down at one point. A huge spider emerged from the sofa. Kathy was seen taking spills left and right. The women were burping on camera. And finally, Sandra had everyone cracking up as she let out a very loud and long fart during one of her confessionals. And it seems like we determined Gerry's favorite word is so. The night ends with a sneak peek look at the Fantasy Suites teaser. I am going to be breaking down the full teaser in another video, so be sure to watch that right here on Shared News. The anticipated Fantasy Suites will air Thursday, November 16th. The following week is Thanksgiving, so we'll get to relax for the holiday as there will be no new episode. Lastly, that leads to the finale where it will be revealed who Gerry finally walks away with. The season 1 finale will air Thursday, November 30th. This will be a 2-hour finale, so make sure to clear your schedule and prepare for this night. All these episodes will air on ABC. All right, everyone, please share with me your thoughts about the Women Tell All. Did Faith deserve to go home? Were you guys surprised? Did you see it coming? Talk to me down in the comments below. But before you go, please like this video and subscribe to our channel so you never miss out on any news updates. I'm your host, Hiba Berry. Thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll see you all next time.